Hello, everyone. This is my second presentation. The journey here that I want to share with you is an attempt to create a agentic AI agent for Business Central that can be used by auditors to access content inside Business Central. And it can be done as an internal audit inside a firm, or it could be done by an external auditor. So let me share you this theoretical build. I'm going to start by showing you Copilot. So I've created this. This is Copilot Studio, if you're unfamiliar with it. It's one of the Power Platform apps that you can use to create AI agents. And it's the one I'm going to start with. It's the low code, no code basis. So it makes it relatively easy to do this. As you can see here, I won't go into too many details. There's plenty of videos on creating Copilot agents. But I'm going to go and show you my attempt at a BC Auditor AI agent. So I'll click in here. And I'm going to start testing my agent by asking some questions. So I'll say, what are, or actually, who are my customers that start with the letter K? So it's going through my agent and it's looking to see whether it's got the tools to find that information. It's through agentic AI and large language model, which is ChatGPT 4.0. It's able to understand me, and it's called a connector. So the result is Karoo, Supermarkets, Kluben, Kogan, Tapit. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, let's create a new customer. And we'll call it Kodak. So it is now trying to find out what the correct connector is that should be used to create Kodak. It says a customer has been created. All right. Let's say now let's modify. Can you modify? Can you let me use the word add the following email address to the Kodak customer? And I'll say info at kodak.com. And now it's trying to find, again, the correct connector. Now, this time it says, well, I don't know the word add. Now, do I need to find that record or create that record? I'm not sure what the word add is. So it's also asking for a connection, allowing me to go in and get this information. There's another 4. We'll see here that there's a couple other connectors. Do I delete or update? So it's asking for permission to do so. Now, I didn't ask for permission on the previous ones because probably I had some kind of cache clearance, but I'm going to allow this. And I've got a message that it's a 404 error. This is, is not always working. Let's see if I can continue here. I've seen people do this trick. And here is on the left-hand side, I haven't explained what we're looking at. It first attempted the connector called customer. It then does did the connector create customer, and it gives you a number of seconds that it took. And then it tried to update the connector. And this one where it failed in doing this information. So I said continue, get past that error, and try some more. So try to find, and then it did a update. So it looks like what it did is it tried to create, it got stuck somehow in between these two connectors, and it tripped up and got a 404 error. But now we can see that the customer, and I put some gibberish in here as a variable, has been modified. So we successfully have now completed our code. And it says down here that it is complete. So that's kind of, I'll show you in a minute how I created these. And, we can, now check and see whether we successfully created the customer and the email address. Can I have the email address for the Kodak customer? And I haven't tried this. Let's see what happens. It's processing. It's trying to find the customer. You can see here on the left, and it gave me that information. I've gone beyond. So as you know, customer is one of the major tables in Business Central, and there's a lot of other things I could be asking. Give me the vendors that start with I don't know, H. Give me this, then just let's start with H. Okay, I got a question mark in there. It's smart enough to know that I'm commanding it, not asking it. And it gave me the list. How about items that start with, I don't know, E? So it's smart enough to know from amongst all the fields that what I'm really asking about is the description or the name. And so we found drawers, doorknobs, drive, and so forth. So in order for you guys to get started and do exactly what I did here, there are a couple of platform components that you need to ready. And of course, one is that you have a login that gives you access to Azure, preferably something that gives you both Azure access and Business Central access. Now, Microsoft Azure, I've got an account. The account has a set of applications assigned to it. Let me get to the correct licensing assigned to it. The as you can see here, my account, the test account, has both a license for Copilot Studio and for Business Central, which is a partner sandbox. This whole thing is a partner sandbox, and that's one of the rubs that I think that'll make it difficult for many people to get out there and actually try out. Creating Copilot agents is actually easy. Setting up the environment is hard. And that's the part where you need to reach out to other people in your organization, possibly. In my case, I didn't have Azure admin. And so I had to ask for my account, get credentials set up with these licenses. And I also have been struggling with OAuth, which I'll share in a moment. But this is a prerequisite. And once you're on it, and hopefully in the same tenant, so that's the key, is this being in the same tenant and the same login. Hopefully you'll have the credentials you need in order to have the connector work back and forth between Copilot and Business Central. So again, three basic elements: Azure, Copilot, and Business Central, all in the same tenant with licensing for you. Now, this is an example where I might be doing internal audits. Again, I said I'm trying to create an Azure AI agent, a Copilot AI agent that will be for an auditor. This would be an internal auditor example where I'm trying to internally audit the books by not actually going into BC, doing something useful. I haven't done anything useful yet. I just pulling records at this point. But this is the basis by which you layer on and make more complexity to your Copilot agent. So let me go ahead and reverse engineer what I built. If we go back into this thing here, we see that it's been pulling a bunch of connectors. These are the same connectors that have been used for a long time. If you've been into Power Automate, they've been out there. So let's reverse engineer one of these things. I am currently inside the BC Auditor AI agent, and we see that we have knowledge, and we have tools. Let me go over for a second. If we go to the overview, we have essentially the name, the description of what the agent is supposed to do. I started by using a template. If I create a new one, I'll show you. I just grabbed the Financial Insights template to give me a jump start so I could get some of the elements already in there. You can also create a new agent from scratch. So that is where some of this language in the overview is coming from. This description is not very descriptive of what I really have this thing doing, but it defaulted in here. This can be disabled at first and then enabled. The response model, this would be the large language model used as the basis for the agentic AI and calling and understanding what you're trying to say in natural language. That is GPT-4o. That is your default, and other ones are out there that you can use for your agent. They provide this one for free. Then gives you some performance and so forth. Now, as I'm moving towards a full Copilot agent, I wanted to give it some knowledge so it knew exactly what the principles of accounting are. And I started with the websites for GAAP and for IFRS for auditing purposes. I'm going to use these in the future. But the main thing is that you are putting into your AI agent some basis of knowledge. The idea I have is to pull data from BC and make sure that's compliant to accounting principles and see if I can succeed with that. But today I'm showing you tools. Tools are what I was, showing you. The first one I showed you was trying to find customers that started with the letter K, and that pulled the find customers tool that I created, which is nothing more than essentially a connector. So the connectors already exist for Business Central. Like I said, it was for Power Automate, and so it's finding records. You put in the credentials of the environment. Since it's all in the same tenant ID, it was real easy. It went ahead and found the only available database of it to me. The company was also from a drop down I could select. Then there's API categories. There's version 1 and 2. 2 is what I was playing with. 1 is prior to that upgrade for BC 17, where we got the modified date, modified user, and other fields. So 2 is what I always use when I'm building some new APIs. And then you select which table. So really, from here, when you build something like that, you can test directly into the tool. This test button allows you to turn on the test mode. And I can go in and I can say, find all customers that begin. I'm not very original with, and then it'll go out there and it'll use specifically this tool. So you see how it didn't even give me any other options. It's really just meant because it knows the context. It went out there and looked context based. And this one, it even gave me back some additional content. When I also built this, now you see the output in JSON. So that's also useful because this for those of you that actually use Postman or other tools for testing endpoints, this is really the end result we normally see. But when we're putting together this, let me get out of here for a second and get out of test mode. Not exactly an expert on how to get back to where I was, so I'll re-navigate. In designing this, I want a response that isn't a bunch of JSON. Instead, I wanted to write a response with generative AI. And so that is what my completion point is. And so in here, you'll see there's different ways of generating the end. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you is when I did that first search, I was using a connector. Now back here, we've also gone through and created that Kodak customer. That I used this one. We went and did a modify, and with that I used this one, update customer. And really, these connectors are all different. This is the updated record used for Power Automate. Therefore, you see it here. And in the end, I changed my response that it was going to be specific, that it was customer, and then I put in I wanted to see that customer in a variable sense. So I put it into my statement so it would output specifically the customer blah, blah, blah has been modified. So this is an example of a different type of output, not a generative AI output, but one that I specifically wanted to see. And so these are the ones I haven't shown delete. I did do this one the other day and it works just fine. I have one for vendors. Now with this, I can just show you that it was really just a matter of doing exactly the same thing, very repetitively, but you are grabbing from a different table. You see, everything's the same except I'm grabbing from a different table. Then I say find anything. Find anything is you may not have, you may have noticed that over here I don't have anything about items, but earlier I went and said give me all the items that start with, I don't know, letter D, and it gave me a result. And that's because I'm passing a variable into that table field using this find anything. So here I've got the same 3, but I customized the record type to fill dynamically with AI. So we've got the ability to dynamically fill and custom fill. And in customize, I said, okay, we're going to do a record type, any record in Business Central. And so it's a very simple setup. User entire response. It actually worked better than I had imagined. Anyway, I was expecting to have to be very specific about using just the word item or something, or drop down or something like that. But it understood the word item. It understood it wasn't one of the base tools. It then said, well, maybe I'll try the anything tool, and it ran. So I got a result back. So this is the idea of passing a variable through. And if you extend your thoughts, you could basically have a bunch of companies in a single database, and then that will excuse me for a second. All right, I'm going to continue. You can have multiple companies in a single database, and in your prompt, you say which company you want, and it will update that company or modify or find something in that company. And if you think about it, you could even get more experimentative here by going to different databases, my production versus my demo or my preview. Or let's say that I'm a partner of Microsoft and I've got a bunch of clients, or I'm an auditor, external auditor, and I've got a bunch of clients. This could, point to different tenants even. And this is theoretical, but I assume that you could start to get pretty crazy and start to fire off inquiries into different tenants. I do want to say that not everything is rosy. I did want to ask some fairly elementary questions about accounts, because again, if I'm doing a real agentic AI auditing tool in Copilot Studio, then really I should be able to get data that's relevant to doing audits, particularly financial information. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask, let's say on my account agent or my account tool, is what is my balance of the bank account or something? What is the balance of my bank account? And so I'm letting this run. It's going into the find accounts, and it fails. And this is one where it reached a token limit, and this happens for this particular connector. But it just shows you that there's a limit to what some of these connectors can do and how AI can work with them when it comes to the number of token calls. Not something I've sorted out yet. I'm, by the way, doing all of this without paying for anything yet. So if I went and I wanted to increase my access to the LLMs, then I could pay and hopefully let this run long enough to get a result. Oh, by the way, I'm also on a trial Copilot Studio license. So, in a future video, I'll tell you whether I expired or not. All right. So, having reverse engineering a lot of this, I wanted to create one from scratch. So let me show you. I'll go up and I will create a new tool. All right. So the first thing it asks for is, okay, do you want anything to aid you in this tool? What tool from the tools that are available? And there's just so many different things you can connect to. Business Central is just one of a ton of connectors. And in here, I'm just going to go straight to look for Business Central connectors. And it's thinking. Unfortunately, I can't create a shortcut because I'm doing this every time. And now I get the connectors for Business Central. The one I want is I'm going to look for items. So you see there's, well, just to back up, there's on-prem also, different icon than the SaaS version. Everything you see here is a SaaS version. So this is pulling up the find records. This is the one I used for the customer find record, find customer one. I'm going to add and configure. And it is thinking as it pulls up essentially a small familiar list at this point. It should be familiar to you right here. So I'll rename this find items as a title. It already knows that the tool is going to be the find records tool as a connector. And then down here, I start to fill in the actual values. Since I'm on I'm on a tenant and I have a limited databases at my disposal, I see them here. And within that particular tenant database, it's smart enough to look up and find the available companies. I'll select it here. And this is the one that I am unfamiliar with all of these particular capabilities of these endpoints. I'm only familiar with V2, so I don't really have anything to say about the others. And then the table name. So I'm going to put in a custom value, and this is also pretty smart. Now these aren't in alphabetical order, so it was a little bit clunky for me to get through. I'm not sure in what order they are, but this time I can see items as a table quite clearly. And that's not a table list, that's really an API list. All right, so at the end, how do I want to complete this? I want to have a response in generative AI. Now, I put everything here, and if I exit, I'm in trouble. You do need to use a save button. This is not Business Central. So put save, and I'll now have a new tool in my AI agent. I'll go over here and I'll say, you know, show me the measure. And if I spell wrong, it's supposed to know how to correct me. I don't know, bicycles. We'll see. Oh, token limit. I think I just need to select continue on that. Okay, so it had to complete the accounts, even though I was in the tools here. I didn't clear this. There is a way to clear your previous searches if they didn't complete, and I didn't. So I ran it. It knew, it was smart enough to know to end this one, but gave it through an error, and then it started up in the tool that I'm in, and it knew the answer is PCS. This whole time I haven't used any BC. I haven't been jumping back and forth between this and BC, but BC has been up here all the time, and this is the database I've been, looking against. And if we, are in here and we go into the items, we can always check our results. Here's the bicycle, and we see that it is a base unit of measure of PCS. I didn't ask for base unit of measure, but it was smart enough to know that. I could have asked for sales unit of measure, purchase unit of measure, but the level of sophistication is part of your training, or training your Copilot Studio for accuracy, because you want to make sure that it isn't giving you false results. So builder beware. You have to make sure the results are accurate. Now I'm going to show you what I think is behind these connectors. I think it's pretty important that you understand the connector component. Why is this connector work the way it does and giving us these results? Microsoft has provided all of the connectors. So you see all these connectors on the Power Platform. It's an amazing amount, and that's basically what we see when we are selecting a connector on the Copilot side. So the connectors, and many of these are probably built for Power Automate, and we're just borrowing it and using it for Copilot Studio as well. And so got a ton of them in here. Now, once you do get to the Business Central one finally, you'll notice that there are a whole bunch of different ones that we had seen earlier. So create record, delete record, find one record, find record, get adaptive record. I don't know what a lot of this stuff, how these things differentiate. That's one thing that I'm eager to explore, how these different things differentiate, but it does give you these. And not knowing the technology behind this, to me, this is like pulling any of the APIs. So I'm now over on the Business Central list of APIs for 2.0. And in here, we find account period, aged account payables, age account receivables. So on here, we see the verb, the active verb, create, delete, find. And on here, we find the actual tables or endpoints that can be used for those active verbs. And an active verb is really translating into, drum roll, the statements we use when we're doing an API or HTTPS call. So here we have, what you're looking at is VS Code, where if you're a developer, you're familiar with. And I have installed Postman in VS Code, and I do direct polling calls against the database. Now, this is essentially auto-generating in the background. So we don't need to know these HTTP calls. When we have a connector saying find, we are doing a get. When we're trying to do a create, we get a post, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're familiar with this convention, then of course that's what we're getting automatically without having to write any of those HTTP calls. But this gives you the universe of what you can pull from or what you can query in your Copilot, agentic AI tool. And that is quite powerful. Look at all these. I mean, this is a vast majority of the database that you can basically get a response back on, do an insert to, modification or deletion. All of this is inside Business Central that can be modified and changed based on using one of the connectors in a tool inside Copilot AI agent. And I think that's really concludes what I was trying to show you all today. And again, I'm in an exploratory mode to create an audit AI agent for Business Central. And if you saw my first video, the idea is that you take a bunch of content and you feed it into your AI agent. What I showed today was feeding my AI agent client accounting data. And I got started with putting in the rules in the knowledge base, but I haven't used it yet. And then I also want to get some accounting firm data, perhaps pulled into my AI agent from SharePoint. Now, in the end, I'm not producing any valid audit results yet, as you can see. It takes a while to set everything up, think about the architecture, the flow, how are you going to get content and not bump into something like a token problem, and then how do you use that information inside the agent to talk to another agent, because that's the next layer of complexity. Is I can pull everything from a BC, that's all fine and good, but I need to do something with it, and I haven't shown, but those tools allow you to pass the information on to some other tool. And so there's the beginning of complexity. I'm just scratching the surface with you, but we need to use the information we're getting out of BC for an intended purpose, an audit result, as you see in this slide. So, again, we're doing a combination of all sorts of components like the prompt, all the resources, and I've shown you tools today. And so I'm only getting started with how we can pull these things together into a single AI agent or multiple AI agents. And so this is a short list of what I thought from the beginning in order to build this out. Again, Copilot Studio is kind of the low code, no code beginning of pulling everything together. Once you are maxed out or you want to go pro code, Azure AI Foundry is a tool, allows you to pick your LLMs and to write in one of the standard code bases for building things. There's MCPs that are on the horizon that could change the architectural rules that you're going to use to pull data out of APIs rather than the connectors. And I've looked at some of the early training on that. You definitely have to be a developer to get through these MCPs. And Microsoft's going to provide a specific Business Central MCP this fall, which will be the first thing, the first time that we might have something that is a connector replacement. And we'll see how powerful it is to do what I just showed, but hopefully with a whole lot less steps and more power. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this session. Please like if you did enjoy this session, and please comment if you have gone down this journey. I'd like to hear your story. All right. Thanks, everyone.